What's going on, everybody? My name is Monotooi, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I am bringing you our Week 8 match versus Rhyquinn and the Nidoqueens Park Rangers. I just got a notification from Twitter, we're going to ignore that. Like I said, we're going up against Rhyquinn. His link will be in the description below, as well as the rest of the channels of PPL Division 2. So, looking at his team, he brought a Sylveon, Shaman, his Mega Garchomp, Stoutland, Fortress, and Hippowdon, that's it. And I have an entire team builder dedicated to my team. However, I am just going to lower the volume on this, so this is obnoxious. Sorry about that. Anyway, I have a whole team builder dedicated to my team. However, I have the physically defensive Jellicent, I have our Shuckleberry Nidoqueen, have our specially defensive Ferrothorn, our offensive Extra Belt Zapdos, our Acid Armor Combined Reuniclus, and our Choice Banded Flareon. So, looking at his team, I feel like Jellicent is the best lead. It prevents the Fortress from setting up rocks, prevents the Hippowdon from getting up rocks, can deal with the Garchomp one-on-one relatively well, can deal with the Stoutland a little bit, can take a hit from the Sylveon, so that is going to be what I'm going to lead with. So there he is, just skipped ahead a little bit. There's the Rhyquinn. Here is our Jellicent, that's what we're going to lead with, as he leads with the Hippowdon, which is good for me. I feel like he's not going to want to set up rocks, so I'm not going to bother going for the taunt right now. I'm just going to fire off a Scald, because it will hit that thing relatively hard and hits anything else that comes in. He's going to send out his Sylveon, which takes the Scald relatively well, and he's going to fire off a Hyper Voice. And judging by this damage, I can tell he's modest max special attack, but he's not Choice Specs. Choice Specs would have 2-hit KO'd me. That obviously did not. So he is just modest max special attack Sylveon. So at the moment I'm thinking Scarf, just because it can outspeed a couple things on my team, can hit them relatively hard. So again, thinking Scarf. Now I'm going to head out into my specially defensive Ferrothorn, thinking he wouldn't want to go for HP Fire if he wasn't Choice. He actually goes for Psyshock, revealing he's not Choice Scarfed, and this is good for me because I'm able to take it relatively well. He's now revealed Hyper Voice and Psyshock, so I'm thinking maybe as Wish Protect he doesn't have HP Fire. However, he is an offensive Sylveon, and he is just going to go for the HP Fire, but because I am fully Spud Def, I will be able to take this relatively well, even though he is modest max special attack, and I set up my Stealth Rocks, which are going to be very useful for his team. And now, because I have the Flareon in the back, I'm really thinking he's not going to want to go for another HP Fire, because again, he does not have a switch into a Flare Blitz. So he's going to go for the Hyper Voice, predicting that Flareon to want to come in, or maybe predicting another sort of switch. And I'm able to set up my Spikes, which is great, because I now have Rocks and Spikes up, and I have a way to block his Rapid Spinner being Fortress. So Ferrothorn has done its job very well. Now, I am going to switch out here, out into Professor Allen playing Harry's mod. I'm going to now switch out into my Flareon, not expecting him to go for another Psyshock or Hyper Voice. I'm thinking he's going to want to try and knock out my Ferrothorn. So I'm going to go out into my Flareon. Unfortunately, I'm not Flash Fire, I'm Guts. But that Hidden Power Fire still does very little damage, and now the Rampage that Flareon wanted to go on is now going to happen, because Hippowdon is going to come in, and with the Rocks damage, and with the Spikes damage, and with this thing not being complete max physical defense, this Flare Blitz is going to do so much damage. Just look at this. This is a Hippowdon, and that just does way too much. That's an easy 2-hit KO. He cannot slack off because I outspeed him. He reveals Leftovers, which is good to know. So now, again, he just cannot switch anything in on this super safely. He does decide to switch out, however, wants his Hippowdon for the potential Sand, as well as potentially getting Rocks up later. So he's going to switch out into his Garchomp, which has not Mega Evolved yet, meaning it does not have the additional bulk that Mega Garchomp gets. And even though he will be able to get the Rough Skin damage off on me, this Flare Blitz is still, once again, just going to do massive damage to this Garchomp, bringing it to a very low amount of health, to the point where it does not want to switch into Rocks and Spikes later on. Not that it wanted to anyway, but it's arranged to die from a Flare Blitz. However, I don't want to let go of my Flareon just yet. It's very nice for the Fortress, very nice for the Sylveon. So I'm going to go out into my Ferrothorn, sacking it off, as he actually... here, let me just pause and explain what I was thinking here. I didn't think he would go for the Earthquake because I have a Zapdos. I figured he would potentially go for maybe a Stone Edge, something like that, to hit my Zapdos switch and as well as knock out my Flareon if it stayed in. So it's like, okay, I can live a Stone Edge, and then we'll see what else he goes for, whether it be Flamethrower, Fire Blast, whatever. So I'm going to go out into my Ferrothorn, mainly just sacking it off, because it's not doing a ton for the rest of the match. Dies the HP Fire from Sylveon, dies a superpower from Stoutland, but he makes a good play, sets up the substitute, expecting me to want to switch out. Now, I cannot live any hit from this thing, so I'm just going to, again, just stay in, sack this thing off. He goes through the Flamethrower, not wanting to miss Fire Blast after last week versus Ball. So he's going to go for the Flamethrower, going to knock me out despite me being specially defensive. And I am going to go down. Now, I am going to go out into my Zapdos here. Now, I'm going to pause it once again. At the time, I feel as though this was my better play. Get Showdown, get out of there. Okay. At the time, I feel as though this was my better play, because I calculated I have a 75% chance to live an Adamant Stone Edge from Mega Garchomp. If it's Jolly, I live 100%. I can break a sub with an HP Ice, just go for another one, knock it out. He's not going to switch out because the Rocks plus Spikes will be able to knock it out, and he doesn't have a great switch into this. So, again, a 75% chance to live an Adamant Stone Edge, so I can break the sub and knock it out on the following turn. Gonna go for the HP Ice. I do have speed because of my investment, and of course the substitute is going to break, and as I thought he might have, he's gonna go for the Stone Edge, and as you can see here, he gets a high roll. No crit, just a high roll, and it is able to knock me out, which is really bad. And now, I'm put into a position where I basically have to sack my Nidoqueen. Not sack, but thank Christ that I put Shukaberry on this thing at the last minute, because if I did not, then I lost this game right here. I'm still not in a good position because I'm down 5-3. This thing has done a lot of work to my team. I've lost some crucial things, and now I have to get my Nidoqueen weakened, but I can still win with my Reuniclus if I set up properly. But again, if I were Life Orb... Chris, get out of here. Jesus Christ, this is the word. Anyway, again, if I did not have Shukaberry, I lost right here, because I would have to go out in my Reuniclus, take a ton of damage, and then my win condition would be heavily weakened. So, gonna go out into my Nidoqueen. The Shukaberry is going to pop, meaning that I will be able to live this Earthquake. Not with a lot of health, but I will be able to live it. And I can just go for the Ice Beam and knock this thing out, which is good because this thing was an absolute threat to my team, and now it's gone. Still not in a great position because, again, my Nidoqueen's weakened, my Flareon's weakened, a lot of things are weakened, my Reuniclus is the only way I can win this. So he's going to go out into Stoutland. And a Crunch can kill me from this point, I know that, but I'm pretty sure he's going to go for the Crunch. He also reveals Intimidate, which is interesting because no Sand Rush, obviously. I'm going to switch out into my Jellicent, not because I can take 2 hits, not because I'm predicting a normal type move, but because by getting rid of my Jellicent, he may be more tempted to spin with his Forretress, meaning that if he decides to spin on my Reuniclus switch in, I'm granted a free setup. And as soon as I set up, then that's a very good thing for me. So he's going to go for another Crunch, and now I do have my free switch into Reuniclus. I calc it with my 128 defense investment, my max HP, my bold nature. I will be able to take 2 Crunches after an Acid Armor, even if this thing is Adamant Life Orb, of course. So he's going to go for the Crunch, and as you can see, does about a little bit more than 50%. Do not get a defense drop, thankfully. Do not crit me, thankfully. And I'm able to set up the Acid Armor, which is huge, because now I will be able to take any hit. Even if he gets a defense drop here, I will be able to recover up and set up another Acid Armor on the following turn. So he's going to go for another Crunch. If he crits me, I lose. If he crits me at any point during this process, I lose. However, he does not crit me. Once again, does not get the defense drop. He's going to take more Life Orb damage, and I am going to be able to recover up all of that damage. And now we are in a very good position, because we are near full health, we have +2 physical defense, and we're just looking really, really good. Again, if he crits me with Crunch, it's horrible for me, but if not, then we're in a very good position. He's going to switch out now, goes out into his Hippowdon, and I was thinking, okay, maybe he has Roar on this, maybe he has Whirlwind on this, and that's not going to be great for me, but on this turn, I do set up a Calm Mind, knowing that I can set up on the Stoutland now, as long as he does not crit me, of course. So I go for the Calm Mind, get myself to +1 special attack. That's also why I went for Calm Mind in case he went Shaman, wanted to hit me with Seed Flare, went out into Sylveon, tried to hit me with Hyper Voices. And to prevent this thing from potentially whirlwinding me out, I am just going to go for the Psyshock here. Could slack off, but if he slacks off, I can set up on this thing again. But he's going to go for the Earthquake, just try and get some damage off on me, maybe potentially go for the crit. But with my Acid Armor up, that's going to do very little damage. I'm going to be able to knock out the Hippowdon from where it is at. And now, what he can do now is go out into his Shaman. And remember, Seed Flare has a 40% chance to minus my Spadef by 2. So I'm still nervous at this point. I'm still very nervous at this point, because this thing definitely could, if it gets the Spadef drop, or if it does a lot of damage to me, like he specs or something, do a lot of damage. But he reveals the Swords Dance, which was great, because I'm a little bit more physically defensive with the Bold Nature, and I'm at +2 with an Acid Armor anyway. I go for the Calm Mind, again, just because I can take Seed Flares better afterwards, and I can't knock this thing out with the Psyshock anyway. So I'm gonna go for the Calm Mind, and get the Leftovers Recovery, of course, back. And I'm thinking, okay, I can potentially knock this thing out with the Psyshock, just kill this as quickly, but he reveals the Natural Gift. I forget what, I believe that was Natural Gift Dark, base 90 power, whatever, but with the physical defense investment, with the Acid Armor up, that's still not going to do a lot, and I get a crit there. A little bit unfortunate, because then it was going to be a little bit of a game between me recovering and him Swords Dancing, but even if he went for an SD there, I would have been able to, even if he went for an SD on my recover there, I would have been able to take the hit anyway. So, not a super huge deal. Now he's going to go out into his Sylveon, and if he crits me with Hyper Voice, then he will be able to knock me out, but Flareon can live a hit from this anyway and knock it out and deal with the or Nidoqueen can come in as well. But he does not crit me, and I'm able to go for the recover, getting myself up to a very nice amount of HP, and it's actually pretty much GG at this point, because I can knock this thing out with a Psyshock. Even if he crits me now, Hyper Voice will not be able to knock me out. Gonna go for it. Doesn't do a ton of damage, and I decide to recover again, I guess in case he did crit me, just bringing myself to a little bit more amount of HP. So I'm at full health, I can 100% live a crit. He's gonna go for the Hyper Voice. Again, not gonna crit me, not gonna do a ton of damage. I'm gonna go for the Psyshock, and this is going to knock out the Sylveon. So now, all he has left on his team is that Fortress. Sorry. Is that Fortress, which cannot touch me. Gyro Ball will not do anything to me. Obviously, Rapid Spin is going to do nothing. Oh no, he has Stoutland left, of course. But I can live a hit from Stoutland and just knock it out with a Psyshock. Again, even if he crits me, I live it at this point. So, gonna get the Intimidate, very useful, of course, because I'm Calm Mind, Acid Armor, Explosion, as we've seen. So he's gonna go for the Crunch. Does not crit me, does not get a defense drop, does decent damage anyway, but again, with the Acid Armor up, still not going to be able to take me out. And I'm going to fire off a Psyshock, and that will knock out the Stoutland, which is great, because now the only thing he has left is the Fortress, which I take on 100%. So, going to get my Leftovers recovery back. By the way, this match was not super long, however, it took us a lot of time to think about our plays throughout this match. Now, there's nothing he can really do to me. Again, he's just going to go for... well, I'm going to hit him with the Psyshock first. As you can see, even though I'm at +2, this does nothing, because Fortress is a Fortress and it's a resisted hit and all that. He's going to spin. Again, there's not really anything he can do. It does 4 damage to me. That basically healed me with the Leftovers increasing my HP every turn. So, that's going to happen. Leftovers are going to be bringing me back. And I decided I could win with my Rhyquinn, could give it another kill. But I'm just going to speed this game up a little bit, go out in my Flareon. Again, he can't kill me with anything, even if he has Gyro Ball here, can't knock me out. He's actually going to set up his own rocks. Maybe getting like a, I don't know, maybe 4 my Flareon if I decide to switch out later. But I'm going to go for the Flare Blitz. He has Aqua Berry, which is funny. He was actually Aqua Berry counter, more than likely for my Fire Punch Mega Lopunny if I brought it. But no matter what berry this thing has, it's going to go down to a Banded Flare Blitz. And Flareon is going to live the recoil damage, giving it a kill to wrap up the game, and that is going to be a 3-0 victory in my favor for the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and that's awesome. This match was at the point where his Mega Garchomp knocked out my Zapdos. That was the first point during the entire season of this league where I thought, oh shit, I might lose. Versus Ruby, there was no point where I thought, okay, I might lose. There was no point during any of the previous matches. Even versus Paul, which was our closest match, I was always a step ahead and always knew that I pretty much had the game sealed up as long as I played smart. This was pretty much the only game where I thought, oh my god, I could potentially lose this, because if I didn't set up with Reuniclus in time, or he made a couple good doubles and like was pressuring my Reuniclus constantly, then I may not have been able to win. Chris, I know you are upset but this is not the time during my video to do this. But anyway, again, so very good game to Rye. He was ahead for a little while, but thankfully I came up with the Acid Armor Combine Reuniclus set. Not that I came up with it, I've been waiting to use it, and I'm not the first one who's used it, obviously, but thankfully that came through. Glad Flareon applied the pressure it did to his team, just like I thought it was. And thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This was a very tense match to play. We actually played this in call. Obviously, we weren't listening to each other, like we had everyone else muted, but I freaked out when I saw the Natural Gift Shaman, which was that it was very surprising. I was amazed that he actually brought that. But anyway, I've been talking long enough. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you next week.